All right. Hi there. My name's Eric Meeks, and some of you know me as the Realtor guy. I'm the broker owner of Remax Desert Properties in Palm Springs. We have with us today is Joan Martin. She's one of the top realtors in the Coachella Valley and has been doing this for, well, a little longer than me, but a long time in most people's standards, and done very well in life and as a realtor. And I'll tell you, her knowledge is impeccable when it comes to Coachella Valley real estate. And while we're going to talk a little bit about that, we're also going to talk about the subject on the big screen here behind us. Is the end of COVID-19 in sight? Because real estate has been dramatically affected by COVID-19 over this past year, and I think we're coming to the end of it, or at least we're in the final months of it. From there, Joan, what are your thoughts? How has real estate been for you this past year under COVID?
Real estate has boomed in the last year. However, it's difficult to get deals through because there are so many buyers for each property. So we don't have enough properties, and we certainly don't have enough affordable properties.
I would agree.
That would be one, but we are selling like mad. There isn't anything that just stays on the market now. There's a buyer for everything now. In regard to COVID and I'm not as optimistic as others are about when we're going to have, when we're going to be free to move about without all of the restrictions that we have. For instance, open houses, trying to sell properties now. There was a time you put on a lockbox, you looked to see if it was an escrow, you went there, you went in, you showed the house. Now you have to call up, get COVID papers signed, go there, meet people there, not be, and then you find out after all of that there are 7 offers anywhere, you're not even close.
Right. As realtors, we all have to be extra careful. Even our video that we're shooting for you all today, Joan and I are sitting about 4 feet apart here, sometimes 5, depending if we lean forward or back in our chairs. And we're wearing masks up until right before this conversation. And we're trying to primarily talk to the camera instead of breathing each other's air. So as realtors, we can't do open houses for much the same reasons that all of you are told to social distance. And that's because when you bring strangers inside a house, it's in an enclosed building and the air doesn't move around as good. And so therefore, all of the local boards, and I think even the statewide California Department of Real Estate, have forbidden open houses. And that was a huge part of our marketing strategy, for the longest time.
Major.
Yeah, so I agree that it has affected. As a matter of fact, at this morning's Monday roundtable that we do here at Remax, one of our agents, Arthur Fleischer, who is not as technologically savvy as some of the agents, but a very good agent in his own right, got fortunate that he had a buyer who wanted to see one of his properties, and he made the appointment. He did the COVID permission form so that he could show it to him. And while they were there, he just got to have a nice conversation with a pleasant couple, and they connected, and now he's working with them to help them find the right house. That listing wasn't. That used to be a much more common phenomenon before last February or March as COVID took over our lives. Now, I think that we are near the end. I think that the vaccines that are starting to, the first shipment has come into the United States. I think it was Pfizer who flew them in on United, and I can't remember if it was 400,000 doses or 4 million doses, but they're somewhere in the country at this point at an undisclosed location getting prepared for distribution once the FDA and CDC approve them. And I know that realtors are right after car salesmen and attorneys in relation to where we are on the pecking order of getting the vaccine. But I think that sometime in January, most of the country will at least have the opportunity to get it, whether or not they've gotten it or not. But I believe that it'll begin to permeate through the country in large chunks. And probably by the end of January or mid-February, most people will have had the opportunity for their second dose. And so I think somewhere in that time range, mid-January to mid-February, we're going to begin to see the numbers dramatically decrease as far as new infections, followed within a few weeks after by a decrease in deaths. And at that point, COVID will start to slide behind us.
Yes, we have 315 million people in the United States. We've had a shipment of what, 400,000?
Even if it's 4 million, it's
Or 4
1%.
million.
Yes.
We are first going to, and that's just the United States. There's a whole world out there that these vaccines have to be made for, and we still don't know if they really work. So I see it being more like a year before we're going to have our second dose. By the time we get the first one, by the time we decide that it's Pfizer or whatever the other one is, Cambridge,
AstraZeneca,
or whatever the other one is, and AstraZeneca, Cambridge I think it is, AstraZeneca, whatever the other ones are, to decide which one actually works, then we have to distribute it all over the world. And at the risk of offending anybody, we have a habit of thinking that if we get it in America, then it's a done deal. And it isn't a done deal. We're a small percentage of the world population. And by the time we get them done, I think that we'll be getting our second dose in maybe a year. Yes, first responders, hospital folks, people on the upper echelon will, but us regular folks, I don't see it happening.
Where do we
that
fall in
quickly.
the line? I understand.
I do think that we will eventually wipe out COVID as we did all kinds of other diseases. But I think it was 9 years it took the polio vaccine after it was discovered. It was 9 years before I believe that was the amount of time, 9 years before they actually got something that worked across the board. So we might have something now. I think we have a long way to go.
Wasn't that Dr. Salk? And
Dr. Salk, yeah.
And he gave it to his children. He
Yes,
finally
first
created what he thought or knew was it.
Right.
He didn't wait for the CDC. He gave it to his kids.
He went home to his own kids, yes.
He did.
Yes.
Well, we shall see on that. I think that distribution is going to go pretty efficient.
How do you think it's going to be distributed?
I think that we're going to see large refrigerated trucks parked in just about every parking lot of a CVS or a Rite Aid or whatever, or these neighborhood emergency centers that there are. And I think that we're going to hear through our local news that there are so many doses at such and such place, and it'll be in the newspapers and the radio and stuff like that.
You think that that's how to be distributed? Because the outgoing president, he was talking about using one of the services, the army or
the army,
somebody.
I think he has a general in charge of it.
To distribute that.
And keeping presidents aside, I'm not trying to alienate any of our listeners or anything, and for one side or the other, that army general seems like a pretty efficient guy.
Yes, absolutely.
I think he does.
Absolutely.
And I do think that he will oversee it, and I believe FedEx and UPS and perhaps even Amazon, every company that's got distribution things, I think they'll find a way to play a part in it. Whether it's for profit or just pitching in for charity, I believe that this is going to be one of those times that the Americans will, at least in our own country, and I hope throughout the world, because I think it's a chance for us to retake a leadership position that we have not been in for the last few years. And I think this is a real time for us.
And which company would one buy stock in?
I think somebody should buy it in all of them.
In all of them,
Yeah.
right, exactly.
Well, we're down to our last minute here, so if it's okay, we're going to move on to another subject here in a minute, but we're going to call this talk over. Look for us on other videos on Facebook and YouTube, both M. Joan Martin's page and my own, and if you ever need a good realtor, M. Joan Martin, okay, with Remax Desert Properties, she would do you well.
And I've been in business for 20 years, and I will say, not just because he's sitting here, but he's a pretty decent broker, and it's a great company, a great office, so come and join us.
Thank you very much. Y'all have a good day. Bye-bye.